Okay, here's our next problem. 4-player game. Here's player 3. I'm just going to hit something with 100 points. Works great. You can hear the chime. Score reel works great. Let's go to player 4. Same thing, same switch in the play field, 100 points. You hear the chime, but that's it. Nothing else happens. So what's the problem? Okay, so here's the problem. This little paper wedge right here was blocking that 100-point switch open on the player unit. It was on player 4. So that switch couldn't close, which the 100-point relay was working fine because the chime worked. It was only the score reel wasn't moving. And this is just demonstrating how if you have a problem on a score reel, it may not be in the score reel mechanics. It may be in the player unit. And I can explain the numbering approach for the player unit. So from the front of the player unit, if you look here in the back, that's the drum. And then these switches are the banks of switches are called P. So it's P1, P2, P3, P4, and P5. And then the sequence is labeled from the drum out by the alphabet. So for the P1 bank, it's P1A, P1B, P1C, P1D, P1E, P1F. And then on players 2, 3, and 4, there's an additional G switch. So we'll actually run through a schematic or a drawing showing how those A through D switches impact the score reels. Okay, let's walk through the schematic to see if we can figure out what happened here. On the playfield, there are some 10-point contacts. And when any one of those close, because they're in parallel, it's going to close the circuit across. When that happens, the N relay, which we're talking about the 10-point here, not the 100, which the problem was, but they're all the same. The N relay is going to trigger. And when that N relay triggers, several things happen. Number one, one of the contacts on there is going to close the circuit for the chime. You're going to hear a chime. Then one of the contacts here normally opens, going to close to keep that relay locked on. The relay will unlock when an on-add first tens, second tens, third tens, when one of these opens. And these open on the score reel when the score reel actuates. So what we had happening was a switch closes, we enable an N relay, the N relay has a self-holding contact on it, so now N is locked on, and nothing is there to shut it off. And the reason for that, let me switch. The reason for that is, in the schematic I'm showing the second player, but again, it doesn't matter which player you're talking about. There's another N contact. P2D, if we were on player 2, this would be closed. So when the N relay fired, this should close, which will enable the add second tens unit. This is the coil that will drive the 10 score reel for player 2. Since P2D is open all the time, it will never actuate the score reel. But what that means is, since the score reel never actuates, this switch never opens, which is why the N relay stays on and locks on. You get one chime, which is a good sign. It tells you the N relay is working, but it's not releasing.